something that after to sort of punctuate what you said. The
Okay.
tension between the government and public functions and
Yeah.
private rights, and that is the government having power is only bad when the government is not democratically owned. And I mean in practice, not just in some bullshit paperwork. If the people direct the government and if the officials are responsible to, culpable for, and have to listen
Yeah.
directly today to what the people say,
Yeah.
and if that's the mindset and the culture and the practice, then whatever you put into the government's hands, you're putting into the public's hands.
Yeah.
But when there's a dichotomy between the two, and the
Yeah.
government is run by a political class and not by the people, then of course anything you give them is a weapon against the people.
Yeah. Spoken like a true Marxist. Um, and it's why election integrity is my number one issue, because
That's
to
an
make that
important one.
happen, you need fair elections. You have to have the ability to hire people and fire people, and if you can do that, then yes, you can make them accountable to the people. And that's why I want universal health care if we have fair elections and we have a good if we have a representative government, then we can do these things. Absolutely. I still agree with the libertarians to some limit, the fact that we have to limit what powers they can have. In other words, we don't want them in everything. Um, Let me put myself over here. We don't want them in everything. We don't want the government running hotels, and we don't want the governments in hospitality. We don't want the governments in restaurants. We don't want the government in certain areas. But healthcare, education,
Right.
infrastructure, military. Those areas, look, we're one species on one planet. We're going to have to find a way to play nicely in the sandbox. So the anarchist mentality that everything has to be privatized, everything has to be non-governmental, it gets a little bit, I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. We got to find out a way to make things work. But the reason why I think the libertarians are like that, Don, is that they're not really personable people, right?
Oh,
they're
come on. Don't say
they're,
that. No,
they're,
no, no.
you've been in a room
Some of
with
my
them,
best
right?
friends are
They're a little
libertarians. That's a true
strange,
statement.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if you brought a lot of these people to a cocktail party, they'd feel a little funny, right? They're a little
Not all of them.
awkward.
I know a couple libertarians that drink you under the table, okay?
Yeah, I know. There's a few of them, but as
I'd
a
say
whole,
Gary is one.
Gary's awesome. Yeah,
I think
Gary's
he's a
awesome.
libertarian, I think.
Yeah, but
But,
there's a
but yeah,
reason why we.
look, everybody's got their sort of cultish behaviors about their politics, I guess. And we're tuned also to see them, some maybe even if they're not there, because these are characteristics that are ascribed to them. But I just, to me, that everybody's sort of right about their different things under the present system. Libertarians are looking at an oppressive government structure and saying, I want as little of that as I can get away with. And
Yes.
they're right to do that. But
Yes.
and you're right to say healthcare is a human right, for example, and yada yada yada. The problem is systemic. And what we call government right now isn't what government has to be or has been in different places and at different times. If the government is democratically owned and run, and if you don't have an army ready to invade to enable some people to put emergency measures in place, the people can run the fucking society themselves. And so, what's the government and what's not? The government's merely just an administration at that point.
Yeah, that's what we want.
That's
what we
where
want.
that's what Marx said, laid out 150 years ago.
Yeah. But then you have cultural Marxism, which is no such thing. It
That's
didn't come
bullshit
from
anymore.
Marx.
It's neither one.
Cultural Marxism was created like 150 years after Marx was dead. You know what I'm saying? It was just such a CIA op to tie all this woke bullshit, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
to
right.
get into
Yep.
people's households, to actual workers' rights. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at what Marx was talking about, it's just workers' rights. And I don't know why people can't just separate the two. Well, it's kind of, radical left, it's crazy. It's like, look.
There's a basis for it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, racism, sexism, all these different things permeate the society. That's it's our heritage and it's our present. Okay, and they mischief make with it by promoting an ideology that in essence creates two classes of people,
Yeah.
racists and anti-racists, and anything else that's this, and it becomes a fundamental, and it is a fundamental issue, by the way.
Yeah.
But the structure isn't inherent racism, for example, in each person. That may be enables it, but that's been inculcated because we were never born with that either back,
Yeah.
300, 400 years ago. It's dispersed. It's an infection that is planted in the population to keep it divided. They had white slavery here at the beginning of their invasion and colonization of this hemisphere. And as they conquered peoples in Africa and dragged them over here, they realized that they could give some privileges. Okay, you're not a slave anymore. Now you work for me. I'll pay you. Here, you can have a cookie every 3 weeks if you get out in the field and tell that guy what to do or whatever. That's kind of how the whole thing developed, and we haven't undone that yet. Reparations are one angle, but reparations are not going to change anything here if the whole structure isn't changed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make the structure change. It deepens the antagonisms. What we got to do is build an alliance that takes the whole fucking thing down
Yeah.
peacefully.
That's true. And reparations is an interesting thing because I was totally against it because I thought it would be even more divisive. But I don't look at reparations. There should be reparations, and the reparations really that should be paid out are for unpaid labor.
Yeah,
If they make it a labor issue,
and
like, hey,
interest.
the White House was built by black people. Those people
Yeah.
deserve their money. That built that society. Pay
right.
them what they're due, right? And it's got to be American ADOS, American descendants of slaves. Those people get the check, even if they look a little bit like us,
Yep.
right? If they come from that lineage, that bloodline, and they were here doing work that they didn't get paid for, they got to get paid. It's for unpaid labor. I think that's a good way to sell reparations. If you sell it
Yeah.
as a work issue, as a
That's
labor
what it
issue,
is.
you can sell it. But if you sell it as this is for the great sin, what white people did to black people, now you're back
that's
into
my
the same.
point.
Yeah, you're back
First,
into the
first
same
you're
fucking
never going to
problems.
get it.
Yeah.
You're never going to get it that way.
Yeah,
It's because now people are fighting over this shit, like they fought over abortion rights and everything else. When they were able to divide the population with Roe v. Wade, like all of a sudden that became a central political issue instead of just a Supreme Court decision and the implementation of it. And when they were able to do that, they started modeling that in every area of contradiction in the society. Racism is an obvious one because there was already that division that evident from the beginning all the way through slavery, so-called Reconstruction, Jim Crow, the Civil Rights Movement, the human rights movement that it started evolving from that, which it was really always a part of the human rights movement. And so now we're looking at it with all the data that they've taken in from social media and from whatever Madison Avenue, over decades, even a century of accumulating that kind of information. And they distribute the data to us every day through social media that just stimulates these kinds of divisions across the board.
Yeah.
People that have been the victim of racism, sexism, etc., are rightly pissed off over it. They certainly feel the effects of it because they're affected by it. And so if you say, give these people something, they're like, yeah, you're right. You'll fucking owe me something. And what they don't say is we're going to dissolve this bank up in Boston or Providence that has a shitload of capital that's directly stolen from the labor of these people. Let's take that and give it to them. They say, see this guy over here that has a house across the street from you that's a little bigger. Let's take that from him.
Exactly.
And so what's going to happen? The two of them are going to be fighting each other instead of the fucking bank.
Yes, and that's a very big important point to bring out. Just the same way they can find the lineage, the American descendant of slaves. They have all this marked down. They can find this stuff. They can find out. They also
There's studies too.
They also know who profited from slavery too as well. That lineage is very, very alive. When you say that bank in Boston, they have all that information. We have it all. We have it all, and we can do that. And I think that's something like a white guy sitting in Detroit who does not going to get a check, is just sitting on the sidelines, and he can see that and say, good. those fuckers who exploited those slaves back then, right?
Yep.
That are now this bank in Boston, they're the ones who have to pay. I can get behind that because that guy did labor and it didn't work out, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as long as you sell that and say, okay, well, we're going to also fix labor of today to make that more fair. We're going to work on that because that's part of the collaboration of the group coming together to fight all this stuff.
Right.
Then you really got something cooking.
Now
Then you
take it
got
a step
something
further.
cooking.
Take it a step further. This will illustrate something.
Then you got a self-cooking. Yep. Dallas Buyers Club, Fauci's first really public murder spree.
You ready for the next call?
Yeah, let's do that. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
It's Jay Johnson.
Jay.
Hey, Jim.
What's going on?
Hey, it's good to hear from you, brother. And I love the show this morning, and you're touching on so many topics that I've been waiting to come back around to the light.
Right? We're circling the wagons with you.
Love it. So on unpaid labor, I believe that's absolutely right, and that's exactly how I've been wanting it to be framed since before Black Lives Matter got co-opted.
Yeah.
I really wanted that to come across as damages, and also, like the Native Americans, for the opportunity for Black people to be able to have the opportunity to say, hey, listen, maybe we want our own nation since we didn't have the opportunity to stay on our own. Maybe we get an opportunity to have our own casinos and be on federal lands. I mean, if all these other things are taking place, I'm not saying we want special treatment, but maybe we just want the option to have what was already set as precedent. You already gave a precedent. Let's extend that by allowing, say, 3 or 4 nations of African American people. Now, that's just one way to look at it. The other thing is not just the damages of unpaid labor over generations, but also what you have equity. And when you have equity, a lot of people have perception that my demographic doesn't care about what happens in the nation. And what I believe people will find is that when people have more of what they're a part of,
right,
especially when they are given equity share that is balanced and fair based on their population, then they'll be more willing to fight for it.
It's mine.
And work
I take
for
care
it.
of what's mine. I take care of what's mine. That's natural. This is why I'm talking about the banks. For example.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you think about shares of stock, for example, in say Fleet Bank or one of the banks that was a major holder of deposits of slave owners?
That's spectacular.
Yeah.
Actually, I go further. What I'd say is that I feel as though the United States, and you guys were talking about how the system's broken. I believe that the system is in a place where, just like in the 70s when inflation just took off and people's wages weren't being inflated to go with it, it was tied off there, that it's not in the right time frame. Our pay is not in the right time frame, just as in our electoral system is not in the right time frame. So we need a direct democracy, and that direct democracy can be done just on our mobile devices. Now, not in their current form.
That's true.
But the technologies can change so that we can re-encrypt and then get open source coded received keys that anyone can look at. Okay, I voted for this person and this is my receipt number. And then no one knows who the receipt number belongs to, but everyone can verify, hey, look, I see my receipt number here, and this is who I voted for. And that person's name that you voted for is right there. When you have conflicts there, people can check openly against that. If there's an issue, then the people can bring it to bear.
Yep. Let me ask you a question also about, because this is where I was going to go before. So let's say the policy of the government or something, or whatever, magic, some lightning bolt, whatever, reparations and equity. And that's why I suggested the bank. I mean, if you get shares in say Fleet Bank or whichever bank we're talking about, your position has grown with history because the bank has continued to make money. And in other words, they weren't subject to the wage deflation or whatever that where you're referring to with inflation in the 70s. They kept fucking making money. So now suddenly you get a chunk of that. You now have recaptured the growth that you should have had in that sense anyway. But what I was going to ask about is there's also this discussion among people, and particularly in the Black community, where people are working on reparations. That and I know Pasta was referring to it. I think when he said some things where they're talking about only American blacks, whatever term they use, people descended from slaves should be entitled to it, not Haitians or Jamaicans or whatever. But if you think about it, the very fundamental argument about stolen labor, stolen wages, however you term it, Haiti, all the places that our foreign policy has imposed exactly those conditions de facto on the populations there. As I always characterize it as the people that come here from all these places in Latin America are coming here for their stuff because we stole their stuff and it's here now. What do you think of that idea, of that, applying that concept to pretty much say Haitians, for example, Jamaicans and other black folks in this hemisphere?
Different reparations are needed for that. Different reparations, different discussion, different conversation.
And that's actually what I would say. I would say much like say if ADOS was a founding work layer of unpaid labor, which came first, then they would get their reparations and share ahead of others in a larger portion because they were doing more work earlier. It'd be like founder shares.
Yeah,
then you would get first layer investor shares. Then you get it'd be like tiers based upon what generation you started unpaid labor, your demographic, and then how much per scale average.
I got to throw.
And then, of course, in the imperial model, where we're looking at the other countries as they come here, in this sense, the whole society really is culpable. I mean, just like whites are culpable, quote unquote, whites, over the period of Jim Crow and earlier, because, you can see that some of this stolen labor was spread around. We benefited from their labor, even though we're working class. I mean, there is that contradiction. It's very real. And if you look at the U.S., if you totally equalize the society here, the rest of the world, or certainly, all the so-called third world countries are looking at this saying, okay, you've got our stuff, give it fucking back.
Yeah.
I mean, you follow it to its logical.
I was going to say the first step of that is, when it comes to Haiti and all these other countries, is to stop the current actions that are actually. First things first. Let's stop doing what we've been doing. But I do have an interesting point to break out to as well, though, because I hate to quote Bernie Sanders, and I know we went from AIDS and Dr. Fauci in the hearing, and now we're at reparations. But I mean. That's the way it goes here at Drive Time, wherever the conversation goes. And when you got Jay Johnson, you got to take advantage of it. Jay, brother. How do you feel about what Bernie Sanders said too, as well? Kind of like, it's not going to help us to just dole out money from people that we might owe it to in this particular current system that we have, right? Like, if we start cracking off checks, how is that going to really create generational wealth? In a way, and isn't the fact that the system that we have taking place right now, being that it's been so freaking controlled, out there, and so much of the new finances that are being generated, the new money that's being created, so much of it goes to these top 1% corporations, right? In other words, Does it make sense to put shiny tires and a nice steering wheel and a paint job on a car that has a crappy engine inside?
So that's a great question. And so what I would say to that is I agree, and I think that a lot of these things should be done in parallel. I believe that, say, if you have a direct democracy system where you have direct voting contributions, then the people will be able to check the authority of things. Just like Supreme Court, if people have issues with them receiving gifts, so that there's like all three branches of government are currently checked by corporation. Now, if the people got that power of voice and were able to raise up and say, hey, look, no, this is our country, we're not doing legal bribes, then they would have to course correct. So whenever you have systems where internationally these people were had their lithium jacked and we're not receiving the proper wages because of X, Y, and Z, and you got fintech out there keeping the top 1% up there doing whatever they're doing. Like, yes, it's ridiculous. So without us to balance that out, you essentially have a monarchy ruling class with dukes and counts, et cetera, without having the monarchy. It's tongue in cheek. They have a system that's tongue in cheek and it's a royalty system. And in order to do that, we're smaller and we don't have the resources. So we have to be faster and we have to think more impactfully. We have to go guerrilla.
Yeah, it's systemic. Look, there's a problem with trying to democratize, in essence, an oligarchy. That's what you're describing. And that, I mean, that's our main problem. And there's a historical precedent for the recent historical precedent. It's very similar to how reparations would play out here under the present conditions. This concern that Bernie Sanders mentioned. I don't think that's his real reason for bringing it up, but it is there. In the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union was dissolved, was taken apart, the big industrial enterprises belonged to the government, oil and gas companies and food distributors and agricultural manufacturers, whatever, all of that. So all of the citizens were given shares of stock in these private corporations that were set up. And then everything stopped. And you couldn't buy anything with the money that you had. And people started selling their shares because there was rampant inflation. People's savings if they didn't really need to save much there, but they were wiped out. The pensions and everything were wiped out. And the prices in the stores became out of the reach for everyone. So they started selling off their shares to the only guys who had money. And those were people who gave themselves money on the way out the door of the socialist economy. And so within like 2 or 3 years, oil companies owned by 2 or 3 guys, this is owned by 2 or 3 guys like that. Behind them was money coming from here. And that was how they planned to acquire basically the infrastructure and the mineral and mining rights and everything else of the former Soviet republics. And they did do that in a number of them. And so until you get rid of, like you're saying, until you get rid of that guy with the money that's in the room, people who are living exactly the way they live today, tomorrow with a check in the bank or whatever, are not going to have a lot of choices other than to start spending that money on their fucking living. And if you get a couple more run-ups of inflation, that money in the bank is going to disappear pretty quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just going to be sucked in back into the oligarchy's pocket at the end.
You got to take it down first.
Yeah, that's
or
why
together.
It's really important to dismantle as much as well. We can redistribute, but we have to dismantle too as well. Jay, I have a video over here while I got you here because you are a man of color or a black man. I don't like to say man of color. I like to say black man because when I say man of color,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, when it's like man of color, and I learned that from my stupid progressive liberal friends, right? My Bernie Sanders people, like, oh my God, and then it was a black man who told me, hey man, could you call me a black man, not a man of color, because I'm not, There's brown people, there's yellow people, there's white people, there's black people. I'm black. For those of you who don't know out
Yeah,
there, Jay,
not to mention African American to me infers that my parents, one of my parents is not from America. I'm vested in this country. If we get casinos here, I want mine. Don't take mine.
I ain't gonna mess your shit up. All right, listen, I got this video over here. So this is a good video. And the most hesitant group out there in the United States for this vaccine, and rightfully so, was black men. And I was happy about that. That means people were doing some of their homework. They could go back and look at what happened in Tuskegee and whatnot. Yeah. They try to pull this stunt. Sleepy, I heard Sleepy go, yeah, he knows what video's coming. They try to pull this stunt where Fauci and a bunch of advocates of his went walking around, knocking on doors, asking people to get the shot. Like, we're going to bring the shot to you. By the way, Don, I want to open up a burger joint and call it the Balacios, right? Remember when he said you can get the burger and fries? And so I'm going to do a burger place called the Balacios Burger. And to commemorate, you get a free burger, fries, and a shake if you take a vaccine. But this is great over here. We're going to play this video for you that use in the audience, and you want to call in 561-247-2721. It's 561-247-2721. This is great when Dr. Fauci just falls right on his face when they went to some guy's apartment, and he came out, and in a way he was really calm, but you can see in his eyes he was licking his chops like, okay, explain this, asshole. And they end up walking away. Let's watch this video, and we'll get your opinions. We'll let Jay jump in, being that Jay is a black man who wants his, and I'm an Italian guy. And by the way, too, Don, and I'm not just saying this, if the reparations conversation comes up, I'm sure there's going to be some Italians that are going to jump up in there and say, what did we do for factories and building these buildings in New York? Now, I think the majority of the Italian immigrants did get paid, but there were a lot of Sacco and Vanzetti. There were a lot of Italian bodies that were sacrificed in those factories to make sure that we had some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? A manufacturing base.
Ruling class?
Yeah. A working class. I don't understand the Italian people now today because they want to deprive the immigrant today of the same beautiful story they had. We were called WAPs without papers. But that's just another thing. Let's get back to this video. I don't want to get too far off the reservation. You guys are watching Drive Time. I'm here with Don DeBar. We got Jay Johnson on the phone. Sleepy Jay hanging out in the wings. Gabrielle Freedom, our producer, holding it down. All the lovely people in the chat. I want to say hi to Fred Edward. I want to say hi to Snorky. You guys are making the show great. Dave, I see you. I love you. And Stace as well. Here we are. Dr. Fauci, I am the science.
The people in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot on a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
And not
it's
like
much more serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all giving that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely.
You gonna pass? It's like they just had an objective. They wanted to get their objectives. How's my microphone sounding now? Now the red button's coming up. Is it too loud or?
You're good. You're good on mine.
I can hear you a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too. Yeah.
It's just like they have an objective, and the lady's repeating the lies. If you don't get this vaccine, you're going to allow this thing to percolate. No, the vaccine companies let you know that it doesn't stop the transmission of the virus. It just lessens the symptoms, right? My
How's it
favorite
going to call you a
meme,
super spreader?
yeah, my favorite meme was when Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith. There was a meme out there. He goes, "Thank God I took that vaccine. Otherwise, that slap would have been a lot worse than it really was." That was my favorite meme. But Jay, how did you feel when this vaccine came around and it approached and whatnot? And Sleepy, did you have something to say on it? I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, I was just piping in for a second.
But Jay, how do you feel about this whole thing when you see this guy kind of talking too as well? You know he did his research. You know this guy knew about Tuskegee, that they infected black men with syphilis just to study how it would go. I mean, they were actual lab rats, and that's why the black men were the most hesitant against the shot in the United States. And why would we trust the same people who would use human beings as lab rats to juice us up? And Don, as you know, on the left, Medicare for all was one of the most, things fought for from the left. Why all of a sudden, and I'll let Jay go first and then you can follow up, why all of a sudden will we believe that our adversary, right, which was Big Pharma for getting us what we wanted, why would we all of a sudden believe that they would be good, benevolent out of the blue? Jay, you tackle it first.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of great points. So as far as trusting Cobra Commander's little pet, Dr. Mindbender, which of course was influenced Dr. Mengele, him going door to door to me it's hilarious. I mean, I think there was a lot of people who did forget their history. They get caught up in the politics of the moment. Their party said with this messaging, and then they just jumped on board. Unfortunately, my parents were on that train, but they did forget that. Well, I don't know whether they did or did not know the history. I think they just dreamt it up in a fever dream. But I mean, I was there. I was watching when you guys were covering it, when Nico was covering it, when Kim was covering it. And I was like, everything that they were saying, when I looked at my research, also made sense. So I was like, I'm not taking it. Moreover, I've done studies before. I've done medical studies, and I've participated in certain things, and you get compensated. So when my family members and friends were talking about, hey, they got these free movie tickets or they got this money, I'm like, they just compensated you for a medical study. How do you not see that? You've got no liability. And then they went back and they purged the liability. And then I'm sure they can just say, hey, well, look, they signed off. So me personally, I'm like, look, when do these corporations ever do anything for our interest ever? They're going to get some kind of return on investment. And if they're not, then it's some kind of wacky, crazy, upside-down world, and I guess Freddy Krueger is no longer in charge. I don't know, but all I knew is I wasn't taking it.
Let me say this much,
man,
Jay, though.
I got to jump.
Yeah. What's that?
Sorry?
You got to jump?
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say,
you're
talking about... You were saying about the movie tickets. I just want to say, those were really good cheeseburgers that they were giving out that de Blasio was to take the shot.
Oh,
I mean,
the Blasio got it covered, man. The billionaire dollars, man. It's like, man, you know what? They take care of the billionaires. They keep coughing it up toward us. I got some money at Big Pharma. I'll come up with a cheeseburger, man. Cheeseburgers for everybody.
But cheeseburgers are like a symbol of the sick diet that we eat. I can't imagine how they didn't see the dissonance in here. Have this shit that's going to clog up your heart and do everything else so that we can do this healthy thing for you that's not really experimental. It's just brand new.
That's also...
Yeah, they're cheeky. Yeah. They're cheeky, man. They probably got those cows fresh from Bill Gates. Hey, man, you guys take care.
We love you, Jay.
Love y'all back.
Paul, I'll call you later. I just got back from Peru, so I know you were sending me some stuff, but my head was kind of spinning over there handling some stuff. But we'll have a conversation over the weekend if you get some time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Look forward to it. Got some good stuff for you.
You got it, Jay. Jay Johnson, everybody.
Jay, hit me up on Facebook too. I'd like to chat with you some when you
Unfortunately, I'm not on meta platforms, man. But maybe Pasta can get us in contact another way.
I'll get you in contact with each other.
We'll work it out. Good. Cool.
Yeah. Jay's always got a lot of
Fantastic.
things to say. Love you, Jay.
Love you, man. Bye.
Later, buddy. You're watching Drive Time, and this is. I'm going to start a cheeseburger.
Fries when you get vaccinated?
Look at this. Look at this.
I'm on
I got
Twitter too,
vaccinated.
by the way, Jay.
You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries?
Look at-
My man.
What the fuck?
But there's also a burger element to this.
Why don't you just inject that into your aorta?
Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This can be breakfast? Okay.
What an asshole.
I want you to look
Guy's
at
a
this
fucking
and think
clown.
about- Again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Mm.
This fries are like
Vaccination.
shit.
Perfect.
Mm. I'm getting a very good feeling
Yeah.
about vaccination right this moment. Free fries when you get vaccinated?
I mean, the quote up there is, "I can't believe this was real." Oh, it was real.
It was real.
It
was
was
everywhere.
real.
That shit was everywhere, that kind of shit.
They were giving away free marijuana in California.
I didn't know
They
that,
were
but
giving
I
it,
know
going
that.
from bar to bar in Boston, and giving
Copy
pints
that.
of Guinness for a vaccination. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
you can get a donut that costs them 15 cents to make.
You
the
know,
donut,
all
yeah, the
full
free
out-
donuts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy. And the thing about it is, when it came to talking about COVID-19, the way what changed in me was really realizing that a lot of the people who were passing away and dying were overweight, unhealthy, whatnot. It made me there was a sense of individual responsibility that really kind of rang inside my brain when COVID hit, and that's why I've been kind of battling, trying to get rid of this eczema, figuring out what it is and what I have to do. So much has to do with getting a lot of vitamin D, and as we know, they have all these sun dimming projects, which made me think, wow, they want me sick. They want me always going to the doctor so they can make money. But what we put in our bodies and what we eat, and yet them giving away Guinness, cheeseburgers, donuts, it's we live in a fucking cartoon at times, and this is the perfect example of when we live in a cartoon. Don, I know I posed a question for you before Jay got off that I wanted you to answer. What was that question?
Let me just say, there's one little story I want to tell you on the same point.
Please go. Please tell stories.
When this was overcoming the culture and they had started painting the fucking floors in the supermarket and all this crap, and putting hand cleaner like on every table in restaurants.
When you sit down, you could take your mask off because the COVID didn't exist below 4 feet.
That too.
Yeah.
But so I went to Squires. You've been to Squires with me. It's like my water.
Love it.
Whatever.
One of my favorite places to go. But do you even go there anymore now that you're not drinking so much?
Yeah, we still go there. Yeah, I think we went there last night or the night before. As a matter of fact, night before last.
Good food.
Then I this particular night, like it was early in this, I was sitting. I came in and sat at the bar, and I don't usually do that, but it was crowded or something. Some guy sitting next to me picked up this hand cleaner, and right when they delivered to me this big ribeye steak, squirted this shit, his hand cleaner, all over himself, and doused my whole plate. I just looked at it. I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But this is where people are at. This is suddenly the culture. And in terms of individual responsibility, it's pretty interesting because each individual that was buying this shit that felt the need to do so imposed it on other people, scolded or worse, other people, family members, whatever. It was like a mania that gripped it, worse than a religious mania. It was insane. And that cultural damage, it's still out here percolating.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
it still exists to this day. I mean, no, it's still there. Look, in California, and I talk about the court systems, how awful it is, right? So since we don't have a fair election system
Right.
And our lawmakers, our owners have selected people, and we haven't elected them. You're going to get a lot of shitty, fucking, stupid people involved. Gavin Newsom is appointing some dumb ass fucking judges. There's a judge that still wears a mask in court, like literally in court, wearing a fucking mask as she's talking. I mean, these are the people you're putting in charge. And I can't understand her half the fucking time. I'm like, and when she does open her mouth, she ain't got anything wise to say.
Right.
And that's the second stupid dumbass fucking. I mean, it's just this, nepotism that's going on. It's the Boys and Girls Club. If we had a system in which it worked, in which we can hire and fire people properly, things would be so different. We would have a representation, of the people. But that's what they use against us, Don. That's what the people who don't want the I call it collectivism. When people go, "Are you a socialist or a communist?" I'm like, I know I'm a collectivist. I believe that there's some forms of collectivism. We as species, like I said before, one species on one planet playing nicely in the sandbox, that we can do for society to help us out while still maintaining our freedom and whatnot. Your clip that went viral, right? We can still feed people, house people, and it doesn't have to infringe on our freedoms or whatever, and it can be done.
Yep.
That clip that you have, and I'd love to play that on the show. Don, if you can send that on over to the private chat, let Sleepy put it on up.
I'm going to do that right now.
It's got millions of views, and really, to tell you the truth, it's my spirit animal, right? But I was talking to somebody last night that I said, well, my co-host ain't going to be here today. He's got family responsibilities. So I'm going to call Don, and I bet you 99.9% that he's going to definitely come on. Unless he has to go somewhere, Don will be there. And that person was like, man, Don is one of the most underrated journalists out there. And I said the same thing on the show the other day, man. But it is, because I really do believe, and remember the show I had you on with Angela McArdle and Mel K, right? Which I don't speak to either one of them anymore because they're both idiots. Sorry, I have to say that. No, I mean, I'm fucking done with their bullshit fucking Trump shit and their logic behind a lot of things. I got coffee coming. Thank you, madame.
But how do you really feel?
Look, what is this? Well, look at the mug. I didn't even know what kind of mug that is.
It's a Betty mug. It's a Betty mug.
But you do have a way, and I think that I understand why people they don't want too much centralized power. Why communism and socialism can be bagged on a lot. But you have a way of explaining it, which is very humanized, right? It's a human element. You're okay. I think that's very, very important, because really when it boils down to is like we want to see our fellow human not suffer. I think a lot of people are at least look at socialism in a way because they want a floor where the most vulnerable are not left out in the cold, right? It's not about making the most money you can. What was the saying, Josh Sleepy, that you told me once before? We got a bunch of people who are just a bunch of wannabe millionaires of sorts.
Temporarily embarrassed millionaire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or billionaire.
And people focus on that and saying, if I can be a billionaire, I want this system rather than the system that watches out for the very few. By the way, you have it, Sleepy, right? The video?
Yeah, it's in here.
You want to play it first, Don, or you got something to say?
Go ahead. Yeah, that's cool.
Play it. Go ahead.
That's a good lead into the
It's
conversation.
a great lead in.
It's entirely possible.
What is your hottest political take?
It's entirely possible to provide food, clothing, shelter, housing, education, and medical care for every human being on the planet without fighting a war or ripping anybody off or handing over control of yourself to someone else.
I completely agree. That's a good one. And it shouldn't be controversial to say that.
But it sure as shit is.
What is your hot?
How many views does that have, by the way?
How many million? It was like 7.5 million last time I looked.
Yeah, that's got a crazy amount of views. So could you repeat exactly what you said now so we can hear it a little bit better from you? And how do we obtain that, and what are the challenges to get there?
Yeah, all I did was state the obvious. I didn't actually come up with a program, but we could sketch that out. Because I have tried to do that most of my adult life. What I said was it's entirely possible to provide food, clothing, housing, medical care, education for every human being on the planet without fighting a war, without ripping anybody off, or without surrendering control of yourself to others. And I believe that that's true. We have the tools to do this now. Was it Jay, I think, that mentioned before? Somebody mentioned, I think Jay did. And that was a brilliant insight. It just kind of updated me like that. We have the fucking tool in our hand. These damn stuff, wherever I keep hiding the damn thing. We can be voting on shit all day long. And it's who would believe before you could walk around with a device the size of the communicators in Star Trek, where you could watch TV like they did and talk, and also research things, research everything, basically, and a whole lot of other stuff with just a little box like this that you could carry around that weighs maybe 10 ounces, whatever the hell it weighs. 30 or 40 years ago, who would have thought that was possible? Because they were just starting to have popularized cell phones, but they didn't do anything but be a phone. We didn't have an internet we didn't have an internet. They had DARPANET, but we didn't have an internet before like 1980 something. And now look at what we have. So we have all the hardware. The problem now is some kind of coming up with a solution of software that is, on the one hand, encrypted to everyone, and on the other hand, makes available all this information to everyone. Is that really beyond our reach? And probably, is that really not already filed in some patent application somewhere or on the shelf some places? I mean, that's the thing that's, with that, why the fuck do we have to have hierarchy in the operation of the economy or the government? We don't. How do we get the people who have the levers to let go of them to design this very fucking thing so we can do this ourselves? That's another question.
I have the answer to that question.
Yeah, revolution.
Benito Mussolini.
How do you do
Benito Mussolini. People learned a lot. Maybe I shouldn't fuck around. See that guy hanging with the boots on?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And I'm a peaceful person. Well, I'm a peaceful person, Don. I'm not a pacifist, but I'm very peaceful. Everybody who knows me, right? Like, not only am I known for being like the best looking, funniest political, independent media political commentator, I'm also known for being one of the nicest guys. And with that being said, you know what I'm saying? I still think that there are some people out there in this world that have gone too far, done too much, and they will always be a plague and a disease on a society. And they have no problem killing off millions of people. Lindsey Graham was a good example. Marco Rubio is a great example right now. There's a lot of people like that out there that they can't be saved. And for the benefit of saving society, and I know I get this all the time, you don't stop violence with more violence. I get it. But if you got rodents, you got to get them out of there somehow. How do you do that?
Well, our structure promotes it. One of the things you have to do if you don't want rodents
is not have a structure that promotes it. Yeah.
Cut off the food supply, cut off their habitat. Because if you get rid of them, another one comes in its place and moves in.
That's true. And our system benefits those who are the worst, right? It benefits the sneaky ones. It benefits the awful people, the vultures it benefits. And that's something that needs to change. Really quickly, Don, I don't know if you have any more time because we've got about 17 minutes left of the show.
I can hang
I want you brought this to the show yesterday. You jumped on You talked about it. I want you to kind of give me the dummies version for it, right? This whole modernizing influenza vaccines in the United States. Now, look, wait, you went over to the part, but basically, in a nutshell, are you saying that Donald Trump signed an executive order which allowed the implementation of this vaccine to take place beforehand and the control mechanism? What are you saying this did, all in all, the basic crux of this, if you had to tell me in 3 sentences?
Well, in essence, what this thing did was, number one, make it a policy of the government to produce this vaccine, because it's not specified in the order, but the alternatives that existed at the time, and the most viable ones in the eyes of the experts, which is all that mattered, because 1 or 2 of these models was going to be the one used next time we had the flu, was either what existed, which required development of the vaccine in egg cultures and something that is difficult to scale up. Like, we can't keep a reservoir of chickens to take up the whole state of Ohio in case we have another plague, so we have enough eggs tomorrow to make the vaccine for everybody. That it's a scalability issue that they claimed and probably existed, but required us to develop alternatives that could be scaled up more quickly than waiting on the chickens. And so they had this technology, as they admit themselves, for 10 or 20 years. I forget what it is. I know the actual, information, but, a decade or more back, but they weren't using it for this purpose, and they didn't test it. There was no trials really of any consequence.
But they shot up some rodents. I mentioned this before. They shot up some rodents.
Right. Well, right, exactly. This made it the policy of the government to pursue that anyway, and then also to convince the public that it was in their need, and it made both of those things a matter of national security. That is the quickest summary I could give you of it. But
and the fact that
it's actually exactly that. There's nothing, everything, all of the things I just said are actually there, but not in those words.
Yes. And the departments that he put as part of the task force, makes you question stuff right off the bat.
Pentagon.
Right? What's that?
The Pentagon,
like the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice. Wait a second. We know the CDC and the NIH would be there, but why is the Department of Defense getting involved here? It's like, hello.
Go up a little higher. Go up a little higher.
Higher?
Yeah, a little bit higher.
This way?
Yeah, that way, right there. Okay. The task force will be co-chaired by the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Co-chaired. So the military's there. So, look, we are barred by treaty from doing biological warfare. But they've been doing it. I mean, we found out about all
the Patriot Act, though. The Patriot Act.
Yeah.
The Patriot Act opened the door. It was very vague, but it opened the door for doing biological weapons testing. Even though we have treaties signed with Russia and China, and we weren't supposed to do that. That allowed us to act like
anthrax.
Yeah.
I know. So
did you say something about anthrax?
Here's the hierarchy. Take a look at how far down the actual national health and all of the different health agencies. All right, so VA, okay, maybe, but that's still military. FDA, that's above CDC and NIH and Medicare and Medicaid. No, it doesn't
and
really
BARDA.
It doesn't really carry any prioritization intrinsically.
And this
by
one right
ordering
here.
them that way, but it sure tells you a lot about the fucking mindset. They look at legislative intent when they're looking to interpret law. When you're looking at interpreting somebody's memo and their priorities from it, the things that they put up front are usually the things that are most important to them, that they're trying to accentuate.
Yeah, makes sense. My mother's yelling from the inside. She's being cute right now because she can't speak right, but she can make noises, and she's excited and she hears me, so she's yelling. She's cheering me on through the
Hi,
doors,
Mom.
guys.
Good.
My mom, so it's
Good.
awesome.
She did a great job as a mom. She produced an excellent son. He's smart. He's inquisitive, and okay, I'll say it. He's good looking.
Thank you. And funny, please.
Yeah, you are funny, but funny's a funny word, you know.
Yeah. Well, I always say that about the convo couch. I'm like, it's hard being the good-looking, funny one on the couch. Fiorella obviously is the smart one, but
She's cute too,
Yeah.
man. Come on, don't be.
well, yeah, she's awesome. My business partner is awesome, and
Yeah.
I love her. And once she's done getting settled with a lot of things, we'll be back. And I think a lot of questions will be answered. Right now, she's got to take time to do her thing. So
I'm on her Telegram channel. On two of them, as a matter of fact. I see stuff every day. She's doing a lot of work.
people are making excuses for being late here in the car. What's this here, Dillian? We late here. Good morning from the car. Dillian, the show's almost over. What the heck?
We're glad to have you.
We are, Dillian.
Glad to have you. Come,
I got an awesome cooking video. Let me see real quick if I can bring it up. What I'm thinking about doing is for my, I do have it right here. Let me get this here. I'm thinking about, so we have a page. Hold on a second. So we have a Patreon, Pasta to Go. And we were going to start something on that Patreon at one point for Pasta to Go when the show had a little bit different meaning. Don, you came on that show. It was going to be very much similar to what I did on Jimmy Dore. I was kind of trying to do the same thing, kind of try to bring my audience or the people who watch me on over, have it on different days than Jimmy, and kind of use that model. I got sick. And then, as I was coming out of it, I continued to do drive time, and I just fell in love with this model, right? The radio show.
Yeah.
And you've had time on KPFK. You knew about WBAI back in the days.
I was on. Yeah.
So let me see real quick. On the I'm looking for something. On the my Pasta to Go Patreon, I want to. Where the hell? There it is. I got it. I got this, guys. Hold on. No, it's not up. Man. I'm sorry. I want to start sharing back my cooking videos. I have a lot of cooking videos and stuff I can put up. And let me see this. I want to start doing that. I know what I got to do. Hold on a second, guys. Let me do this real quick. Now this should work. Let me see. Here we go. So I had a friend of mine do a video for me yesterday. This is what I had last night in my house. I'm going to play a quick video. Guys, you're watching Drive Time. I'm going to start putting these back up on the Patreon. Take a look.
Viral chicken. Broccoli. Mmm. There's no audio, is that right?
Yeah, I don't think there's much for audio.
Okay. Is Pasta muted?
No, he's there.
Okay. Look at this. Awesome.
So
When
that
do
was
we
like a
eat
little
that?
something I did yesterday. Whatnot.
When do we eat? You
got
to get your behind up to New York, buddy, and make dinner.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna every day I cook, and I cook a lot for Mom. That's the one thing I can really. Me and my sister just moved into a spot with my mom, and my sister's a great caretaker. And thank you, Lucia. I didn't know if I could say her name, but since her name's in the chat, thank you, Lucia, for editing it. I have a new. I might have a new editor.
Oh,
We
cool.
got to see. But the thing I handle is the cooking for mom. So I cook for mom a lot. So I'm going to throw up a lot of my food, a lot of my meals. Keep it simple like that. Show it. Entenmann Bill, who's right around the corner for you, talks about capellini with garlic and olive oil every Friday. What we like to call the aglio olio is bread. Some toasted breadcrumbs with that, Fred. You can throw that in there too as well. That always helps as well. And really, to tell you the truth, that dish, aglio olio, is the staple for making so many other dishes. You need to know how to make that. You got to use your pasta water. The Italians use the pasta water. My mom does not have cancer. She had a stroke. And since then, she hasn't been able to walk or speak. And this was an active woman. And yes, she did take the shot. She took the vaccine. And it bothered me because she wasn't going to do that. We had COVID. We beat it. We used the McCullough protocols. But her doctor convinced her while I was in California to take it because she had a heart issue. And she took the clot shot, and she got a blood clot, and a stroke happened. I'm not saying it was from that, but I would not say it's not from that, and it's something.
That's why they can do that, by the way, because it's really hard to prove this or that thing in isolation. You have so many cofactors.
Yeah. This was one of the most divisive things out there. We were talking about the reparation situation where they say, we're going to take money from that guy across the street. That's going to cost divisiveness, rather than take it from the bank, which was the lineage to the people who owned the slaves that made the money, whatnot, and they have to pay for it. And it's going to bankrupt that bank, and it's going to shut down where everybody can get behind. COVID did the same thing. People were pointing across the way, this guy is not helping us out. He's not doing the shot. Don DeBar is not taking the shot because he doesn't care about us as a community. And I'm going to do my part. I'm going to take my shot, get my Band-Aid, and put it up on Instagram to show everybody that I did my part.
Yeah.
It was one of the most divisive things out there. It separated people. Thanksgiving dinners were very hard. Karen Kwiatkowski talked about it Wednesday on the show. Her brother and whatnot and what she experienced. It's tough. And this was a plan by the elites for quite some time, right? I look at the lockstep document. You pulled up something, the executive order, and you said, just look at this, we know. But even before that, the lockstep document from the Rockefeller Foundation was out there. It pretty much was a blueprint for what happened in Event 201 and whatnot. And these Malthusiasts wanted to cleanse the planet and get rid of some useless eaters. So, Don, I'm going to let you go because it's 9:53 and it's at the top of the hour, and you're feeling your stomach and looking for something like
I'm
this.
smelling breakfast upstairs. I think Margot's whipping up something for me to eat.
What's Margot making? And tell Margot I said hello.
Margot makes. I'll do that for sure. I think she hears you. So,
how's Sammy doing? That little bastard.
Yep. So,
how's Sammy?
Sammy's cool. He's probably listening too. You could say hi to him. He can't answer back though.
Sammy's funny. He's a funny little guy. He loves turkey. He
does. He does like.
You got to give Sammy turkey. So. Well, I know you're not doing KPFK and the Rebel Media anymore, and that's a shame. Yeah. They really lost out. You did some amazing work over there. What are you doing now? Are you still going on Press TV, RT, anywhere else?
Yes, Press TV. RT hasn't called me in a while. They do call once in the blue.
Me too.
Press TV a couple times a week, some weeks lately, and more or less constant for the last. When was the Occupy Wall Street? What year was that?
It was before Obama.
Was it? Okay, so before 2009 anyway. So since then I've been on Press TV really.
Yeah.
Because I was down at whatever the hell the place was, but down by Wall Street, the park that they occupied.
Yeah.
And interviewed there by Press TV, and also went from there. And then this is in October of when they did this, up to where their studios used to be over by Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. I can remember sharing an article from Don DeBar. Not me, somebody else shared an article for Don DeBar going after Medea Benjamin and causing fights inside a chat. And that's like, I was like, boy, before I really even knew Don that well, I'm like, I like this guy over here. I'll never forgive Medea Benjamin for supporting Barack Obama over Dennis Kucinich. That was bullshit too, as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. I wish though I didn't indulge myself so much in ad hominem because it's too easy to get played that way.
Yeah.
In division again. What I'm trying to do is look at the material things that are going on, critique those. The people whose hands are on it only matter if they're, if they have their hands on it, it matters. And so I critique her, but I did it. I could have done it more objectively, I think.
I don't think so. No, I'm going to tell you something, and it's not that I think that we should go balls to the wall and call people out and expose people, but we do have a hero worshiping mentality.
Yeah, that's a problem.
We have to somehow cut that shit.
I understand.
And I'm not going to say that Medea Benjamin doesn't do good work, but she has some questionable things about her. I'm not going to say that Amy Goodman doesn't do good work, but some of the shit that comes out of her mouth is such bullshit and crap. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like it's kind of like this in the club elitist mentality that they're not at a level suffering where, they can say certain things, right? Like they're not suffering enough where they can make alliances with establishment candidates. And that's what's going on in WBAI. You know what I'm saying? I got people out there who make decisions who are sharing Cory Booker tweets. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, enough, man. I'm sorry. And I don't give a shit if you throw me off the air or you tell me what's what. That's bullshit. I'm never going to capitulate and say the Democrats are the lesser of two evils ever again. I've already played that that game before. The Republicans just did that now with Donald Trump. They've played that game. We did it with Obama. It's time to realize that these parties are a bunch of elitist, fucking blood-sucking stenographers for the ruling class. And we got to get rid of them and unite ourselves. Don DeBar, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for an amazing show, Don.
Thank you, man. So anyway, short, direct answer. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, a few others, but I monitor those closely. So, if you want to see anything, hit me up, and I've got the blog. It's Don DeBar at dondebar.blogspot.com.
All right, brother. We love you, man. He's interviewing AI nowadays. I love it.
Take care, both of you guys. Be well. Thanks to everybody that's participated today, and thanks to everybody that's watching.
And have a great weekend.
You too, brother. Take it easy.
So a couple times, Sleepy Mike, you muted my mic because of the back thing, because I had my mic up. I turned my mic down so that wouldn't happen.
I think we need to do work on positioning the mic. I think it's still when it's up high enough to hear you, it's picking up your laptop.
That's what I'm saying. Can you control the volume on your end? Do you have some type of software you're using there?
No, it's StreamYard on that one.
It's just StreamYard. Fucking sucky.
We can work off that.
We got to work on that. We got to work on the music. We got things to do. I got to work on dinner tonight. I'm making skirt steak with chimichurri, sweet potatoes, and some more broccoli again. My mom likes to eat broccoli, so I make a lot of broccoli. By the way, the salad that you saw wasn't complete. I ended up making a fig vinaigrette. I used fig preserves, a little Dijon mustard, a little salt, a little pepper, and a little olive oil, and whisked that all together. And I also put a little feta cheese in the salad. So you had that feta cheese flavor with the sweet. Stace, I know you can confirm on that. That's the way to go. The contrast, you get a little of that pungent cheesiness, but the sweet vinaigrette and the beautiful lettuce together. It's like a beautiful canvas. I love making salad dressings on the fly very quick. It's very, very simple. So tonight, skirt steak, sweet potato, broccoli again. But I'll probably do the broccoli a little bit different. I got some fresh dill I want to use. By the way, my friend also, Miguel Santiago and Dillian, gifted me a lime tree with a bunch of limes with a bottle of tequila too as well. So I'm going to squeeze the fresh limes. I got the tequila. I got to get a bottle of Cointreau. I forgot to get that. I'll use a splash of orange juice in there, and I will also use a simple syrup. You got to use a little simple syrup in these drinks. Sugar is very important, just a little bit of it. That's what simple syrup is when you're making cocktails. If you don't have simple syrup at a bar, you're not going to make cocktails properly because you need a little bit of it for balance. And you also need to shake with ice, but strain it into fresh ice because you don't want the ice that's lost its integrity, but you do want enough of that water released with the simple syrup the water and the sugar to be released into the other ingredients to get a good balanced drink. So the Cointreau, tequila, fresh lime, and then the simple syrup I'm going to make. We're going to make it with my friend's rosemary plant. So I'm going to make a rosemary simple syrup with that, and I'm going to batch that in a nice margarita so we can have that maybe Saturday or Sunday night. Who knows? But that's what's going on food-wise in my neck of the woods. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Let's get to the final monologue and get on out of here. Let me know. There we go. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Remember, together, we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep the dialogue flowing and the peace growing. I want to thank my team, Sleepy J, Gabrielle Freedom, for joining in with me today and always holding it down. I want to thank everybody in the chat, all our wrenches, whether it be Fred Edward, Stacy, I love you. I love you, Miguel Santiago, Dillian, all you people out there. I really do. I am blessed to do this. I said to myself, if I can't be thankful and feel blessed by getting up and do this, I'm never going to feel blessed and thankful for doing this. You guys have been amazing. Intimate Bill, I love you too as well, man. The way you've been promoting this show has been incredible. Hemcar, you're always showing up on time. I don't want to forget everybody. There's so many great people. I really do love you all, and I'll see you next time on Monday. Oh, I'm going to be on the Kyle Lanzalone show today, so if you want to watch me over there, I'll be hanging out with the Big Ragu on his show. You know he's a regular here on Thursday. We'll be back Monday, probably with your favorite neighborhood Zionist. And yes, I am going to continue to have him on the show, even though I am an anti-Zionist. We're going to have these conversations, and we're going to talk this stuff out. Thank you guys for coming on. I love you all, and peace.